Thanks.
Just a correction, Chairman. It's 10 o'clock in South Wales. I know it's 11 o'clock in Spain. You said it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Al?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the meeting of the Pension Fund Committee. Thanks everyone for attending. I know it's been a busy couple of days with the ACM yesterday, so thanks for everyone for attending and participating, and caught up with Jeff after the meeting just to get a quick update of how things went. So thanks for that, as I say, and everyone's contributions. So first item on the agenda then is apologies for absence. Al.
Thank you, Chair. I got apologies from Councillor Jan Curtis and Councillor Rees from Neath Patel, but he might join us this morning if he's able to, but otherwise he's given his apologies.
Okay, thanks for that.
Can I just say, Chair, I have to go at 12, so if it overruns, I will have to leave. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise, I'm a bit time constrained as well, Mike, for this afternoon. So yeah, okay, we'll see how we get on. But yeah, you know, by all means, leave at midday when you need to. Okay, so the next item on the agenda then is disclosures of personal prejudicial interests. I'll go first as declare my interest as a member of the Swansea Local Government Pension Scheme. Next, Will.
Yes.
Yeah, same as me, member of the scheme. Thanks.
Gareth.
Yeah, I'm a member of the Carmarthenshire scheme.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, I'm a member of the pension scheme as well, Councillor Mike Lewis.
Okay. Okay, that's it. Thanks for declaring those, and Alison, who sent out the necessary forms to be completed, is it?
Yes, Chair. Can I just declare an interest as an officer as well, because I'm a member of the local government pension scheme.
Okay.
Can I declare an interest as well? I'm a member of the scheme.
Jeff?
Likewise, Chairman. Member of scheme, the whole agenda is with an interest.
And I'm also a member of the Swansea scheme.
Okay, thanks everyone for that. Okay, so the next item then is to approve the minutes of the last meeting, which start on page 1. If I can just get that, that would be a sec. Okay, yeah, so they're the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, the 8th of September. Anybody got anything to be corrected on page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4, page 5, page 6, and page 7. Okay, would somebody like to move those as a true and accurate record? Yeah,
I'll move, Chair.
Moved by Will, seconded by Mike Lewis. Thanks both. Okay, and then we go to item 4 then, which is the reports of a section 151 officer, and we go with item A first on page 8, which is the audit of accounts report, City and County of Swansea Pension Fund.
Thanks, Chairman. In actual fact, this is the report of the appointed external auditor.
Yeah.
Chairman has been misallocated in the agenda. Apologies for that. This is their standalone report. It's their statutory report that they're required to give on an annual basis. Well, I think Councillor Phil Downing has just joined the meeting.
Yeah. All right, Phil.
Yeah, Chair. As I just joined the meeting, it took quite a while to get in this morning. Just on the declaring of interest, the usual thing about my brother's a member of the pension fund. Don't anybody shouting at me afterwards.
Okay, we'll get Alison will send out the necessary forms then, Phil, and welcome to the meeting.
Yes.
And so therefore, Chairman, we have Mr. Daniel King, the audit lead for Swansea, who undertook the work to present their report here to present. So over to Daniel to present Audit Wales's report.
Okay, Daniel, over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Chair. Just before I start, I just wanted to pass on apologies from Jason, who normally attends Pension Fund Committee. So I'm here in his stead today to present the Audit of Accounts report. It's my first one, so go easy on me anyway. I'm gonna assume the report has been read, so I'll just kind of briefly touch on the kind of key points from the report. and then happy to take any comments or questions at the end. So I guess the main headline really is that we intend to issue an unqualified opinion on the pension fund accounts and annual report this year. So this means that we're of the view that the accounts do give a true and fair view of the pension fund's finances for the year to the 31st of March 2021. Just a bit of, I guess, extra information on this in terms of how we reach this conclusion. We do apply a threshold of materiality. So this is our sort of significance level that we use to judge what errors in the accounts are significant to the reader or not. So for this year, our materiality level was 26.2 million. So by issuing an unqualified audit opinion on these accounts, we're of the view that the accounts are free of any material error, and they do provide, as I say, a true and fair view of the finances of the pension fund. So just a few sort of key points I was going to flag in the report itself. On page 4, in point 6 on page 4, we've highlighted there that at the point that we drafted this report, the majority of our work was complete, but there were a couple of areas outstanding. I can confirm now that the final review of the audit file has been complete, and the final review of the revised financial statements have also been completed. The Auditor General intends to issue his audit opinion next Thursday, the 25th. We will need to continue to monitor any post-balance sheet events that may occur between now and then, which I think is fairly unlikely at this stage. Moving on to point 7 on that same page, again, just wanted to flag to the committee really the fact that we've complied with our ethical standards. We are completely independent of the council, and there are no conflicts of interest to be brought to your attention. A couple more important points to flag in page 5. So on the next page, we've highlighted there how the pandemic has continued to impact the audit, sort of around impact on timetables and the use of electronic evidence, given that we've had to again undertake the audit remotely this year, given the circumstances. So it just gives a little bit more context, I think, to the work on that page. Jumping forward to page 6, which is point 17 in the report. Also just wanted to flag that in the final version of the financial statements, there are now no misstatements that remain uncorrected. So all audit amendments that we've picked up have been corrected by management, which is good. And across the page then on pages 7 and 8, there's a table there which I think highlights some of the significant matters that we came across during the course of the audit. I don't intend to run through them one by one, but happy to take any questions on any of those in a second. And that's all actually I was going to say really on the report itself. Just wanted to, I guess, thank Jeff, Karen and the team for their support this year during the audit, in particular in September when we were carrying out our sort of final accounts work. The accounts and annual report that we received was to a very good standard. And we also appreciate the efforts this year in actually producing the annual report document alongside the main account as well. So it allowed us to undertake both sort of tranches of work in one go, and we can issue one audit opinion over both documents. So just a thank you to Jeff, Karen and everyone else involved in the accounts. And yeah, happy to take now any questions or comments. Chair, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Thanks for that. And again, I think on behalf of the committee, can we pass on our thanks to Jason and yourself and Audit Wales, and of course to our officers who once again have delivered the audit in very challenging circumstances over the last 12 months. So well done, Jeff, Karen, and your teams on behalf of the committee. Jeff, did you want to come in?
Thanks, Chairman. Yeah, just a couple of points. I mean, those experienced members of the Pension Fund Committee will probably note that this is a particularly short and brief Audit Wales presentation in respect to the ISA 260, and I think Daniel will agree that the number of findings and significant matters to report are fewer and less than previous years. Again, that's testament to the work of Karen and her team in producing those accounts. And also just to clarify, in Audit Wales's Exhibit 2, where Daniel has presented significant matters, and which he considers to bring to your attention. However, in absolute terms, they aren't significant in the scheme of things as far as perhaps the layman would be concerned. However, in audit terminology, they're significant enough to bring to your attention. For example, the third item on that list, because there are only 3 items on that list, the Wales Pension Partnership Opportunities Fund dividend. That was in respect of a distribution of £23 million that was received late from the WPP, and so we recognised it in year. So obviously, it wasn't apportioned to the correct financial year. Audit Wales recognised that. It was of no issue to Swansea. There's no detriment to the fund or the financial statements. It's just that it was disclosed in the wrong year. It's income. It's accretive to the net asset value of the fund, and it just allocated to the wrong financial year. And the other 2 issues, the impact of the McLeod remedy. That's still ongoing. Again, that's without our control. We're still waiting for the final implementable remedy in respect of that. And then obviously there's the ongoing uncertainty in respect of COVID year-end investment valuations. So just to give you some context, those are the significant matters reported by Daniel and his team, and in absolute terms, they are pretty insignificant. And then the last one, the AVC contributions, that has absolutely nothing to do with the net asset values of the pension fund. We're required as an admin authority to provide AVC provision to our members should they so wish, and have the means to do so in making additional voluntary contributions. And we're required to outline those balances. However, in discussions with the external auditor going forward, because they are such immaterial sums, we won't even have to disclose that. But again, it's included here as a finding from Daniel and his team.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, and thanks for bringing some clarity and context to all of that for the report. Any questions for Daniel in the first instance? No. As I say, it's very clear, shorter than normal report, and Jeff has basically clarified any of the main points that would you probably want to raise anyway. So thanks for that in advance. Okay, then, if there's nothing more for information, Jeff, is it only?
No, it's brought to a committee for approval
is that?
From the external auditor.
Okay. All right. So are we all happy to accept the report as presented then? You can raise your hands. Yeah. Okay, that's carried unanimously. And again, thanks again, Daniel, and pass on our best wishes to Jason.
Thanks.
Okay, you're more than welcome to stay, by the way. You're free key.
I will if that's okay.
Fine. Thanks. Okay, so we go to the next item on the agenda then, which is item 4B, which is the breaches report, which is for information only. Jeff?
Thanks, Chairman. It's the usual report. It's the usual report you get at every pension fund committee meeting, Chairman. Just highlighting the statutory breaches that we're required to report to you on a regular basis. As you can see at the right at the bottom of the appendix, you can see the latest breaches. Same old, I'm afraid, in terms of what the type and nature of breaches that we're reporting, and the latest ones are on page 50, 51, and 49. And again, it's the reasons for it are as you're probably tired of hearing about information flow, receipt of late information from the member or employers, so that we are unable to process the payment and the pension in the timescales required, and also same old in respect of contributions. You know, a number of our smaller employers are struggling to meet the deadlines. Again, as you're well used to hearing, they are very low risk employers in that they are one-man band type employers. As we said yesterday, some of the employers on the scheme, on the annual consultative meeting yesterday, they only have one member in the scheme, and that one member is probably doing the admin, doing you know, locking up the community centre and doing the cleaning as well. So they have other priorities, and ensuring their pension contributions are paid in time are probably number 99 on those lists of priorities. However, we're still required to report them to you, and we do here. And however, as previously indicated, not a material risk to the fund financially or holistically in that respect. Again, pleased to repeat, there are no GDPR breaches for this period either.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Will?
Yeah, just a quick one. Just on that, Jeff, is there a specific time the smaller employers have to pay by? And if so, I mean, if you've only got one employer, for example, why not just pay once a year? Wouldn't that make it easier? And secondly, I noticed that the GDPR stuff, there's not been any, well, touch wood, not been any GDPR breaches for a long time. So that which is a really good thing. So I'm guessing whatever changes were made internally or training there is paid off well. So well done with that.
No. Thanks very much, Councillor Thomas. I'll feed those kind words back to the admin team. As you quite rightly say, those early instances of GDPR breaches were, you know, human error, inadvertently attaching member details on the wrong email, etc. However, as you quite rightly say, mitigating controls and officer training has been undertaken in respect of their GDPR obligations. In respect of payment timescales, I'm afraid the regs are quite clear in that to be a member of the scheme. And relevant to this, later on in the agenda, Councillor Thomas, that there's an update of the pension admin strategy that we're required to produce, and that is almost, that outlines the contractual relationship between us as the admin authority and the employers who want to join the scheme. So employers wanting to join the scheme have to sign up to adhere to those timescales, and the timescales that all employers, small or large, so City and County of Swansea or Mumbles Community Council, are required to remit their employer contributions within 19 days of the month end to which they're relevant. So, it is quite a tight window. And yes, we do consider prepayments in that regard, and are happy to discuss that with employers. I don't think Councillor Peter Rees is on the call today, but yeah, we have had informal conversations with a large employer like Neath Talbot Council, who wish to make prepayments on their pension contributions with a view to them managing their cash flows in a more efficient manner. So we're quite happy to talk to employers, small and large, if they want to make prepayments of that regard. However, not wanting to preempt any HR changes at that employer. It may cause issues in terms of should that employee leave, and recovering those payments, etc. So yep, quite happy to enter into those conversations should an employer wish to do so.
Would they be aware, Jeff, necessarily though? Would they be aware that they could do that?
No, normally a small employer, Councillor Lloyd, would they necessarily want to tie up their working capital in an upfront payment to pay in one go? Perhaps they only get their grant or get their precept on a monthly basis, and it aids their cash flow. I would suggest perhaps that maybe it is, hopefully it's not a cash flow issue, but when payments are late, the risk that is raised is that, is this institution having cash flow issues, etc. Why they can't make it. But in this instance, because they're all community councils, that is not the case. But to pay it up front and in one go would tie up a lot of their working capital in that regard anyway. So it's maybe something that they don't wish to do.
Okay. Gareth, you're on mute.
Is there a qualifying period between application and acceptance?
For bodies like community councils, Councillor Sullivan, no, they have a right by law to be members of the scheme because they were designated as scheduled employers on the original statutory instrument which brought the LGPS into being. However, if you recall, from time to time you receive reports asking for admitted bodies to get employer status within the LGPS, and these employers tend to discharge services akin to a local authority should a sponsoring employer have outsourced some service. For example, Neath Talbot outsourced their leisure services a number of years ago to an arm's length organisation called Celtic Community Leisure. They subsequently asked to be admitted to the scheme, subject to guarantees and sponsoring authority covenants, etc. The committee receives a recommendation asking them to be admitted to the scheme, and so hence at your discretion, at your approval as the pension fund committee, an admitted body can get LGPS status.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, then any other questions for Jeff? No, that report, as I say, is for information only. So we now go on. I can see Councillor Peter Rees has joined the meeting, so welcome, Peter. And we move on to the next item, which is 4C, policy update overpayment of pension on page 52.
Thanks, Chairman. As you may notice, there are a number of housekeeping reports on the agenda today, this being the first of them. Obviously, managing the administration of a pension scheme is quite complex. Lots of regulations. I mean, as you're well used to hearing, ostensibly, the admin team are running 4 separate schemes almost, through the different iterations of the LGPS, and the regulations associated with those different schemes are varied and complex, and it's important. Noting the ability of members not to be happy with how they've been dealt with, or feel that they've been unfairly treated in some regard, that we have clear policies in how we deal with each specific situation as it arises. Obviously, when dealing with individual members, pensioners, active members, there's a whole wide and varied number of scenarios that can arise that can't be captured in a single policy document. So there has to be some degree of discretion and latitude within a policy to be able to deal with every situation that arises, because at the end of the day we're dealing with people, and their personal circumstances are different from one person to the next. However, there does come a time when unfortunately we do have to recover overpayment of pensions, for example. Unfortunately, should a member have deceased and we haven't been notified or informed in a timely manner, we carry on paying that pension, that's technically an overpayment of pension. That pension isn't due to that individual, obviously, because they're deceased, and we're at liberty to recover that overpayment. So in situations like that where we have to demonstrate that we've got a clear policy how we go about recovering overpayments in those circumstances, and obviously there are circumstances where it may be inappropriate to recover it, and again the policy identifies where perhaps the amount is so small that the circumstances is it would send them into financial hardship, etc. So each case it's taken on its merits. However, it's incumbent on us to have a broad overarching policy on how we deal with these things, and the policy that you've got before you, committee, is the proposed overpayment of pension policy that we're looking to put into practice and formalise on your approval. However, this is what's been taking place operationally, obviously, as the guys process these transactions.
Okay, thanks, Jeff, for that. Any questions for Jeff on this one?
Chairman,
Yeah, Peter.
can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Just to say, I'm waiting in the hospital. I'm on my phone at the moment, so I might have to drop out. Okay, so if I do, please accept my apologies.
No, that's fine, Peter, and thanks for making the effort to attend. Thanks very much. Okay, so the report is there. The recommendation is on page 52 that we approve the overpayment of pensions policy at Appendix A. All those in favour, can you just raise their hand for the record? Yeah, that's everyone. Okay, thank you very much. And we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 4D, Competition and Markets Authority, on page 62.
Thanks, Chairman. I think, Chairman, it may be appropriate if we ask our consultants on the line to just to step out of the meeting at this stage, because obviously the following meeting is in respect of their service delivery, etc. So if I could ask David and Andre just to drop out of the call at this stage, and then Karen will drop you an email asking you to rejoin, if that's okay, guys.
Yeah, no problem, Jeff. See you in a minute.
Thank you. Committee would have received this report when this measure was first introduced a couple of years ago in 2019. The Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, determined that there was a regulatory requirement that trustees of pension funds set measurable objectives for their investment consultants when they're appointed, with a view to holding them to account for the advice they give us, and to demonstrate that there are clear measures in place to measure their success or otherwise. And as you recall, we tried to come up with a framework in 2019 which we could implement something which committee could measure that progress that our investment consultants are making, and measure the value of the advice and training and reports that you receive from them. So at Appendix 1, we highlighted in different sections all the different areas, I suppose, of the relationship that we have with them, and how we can measure them. I know a lot of it is not black and white. It's very qualitative in its assessment and a bit warm and woolly. But I think on a with a subject as broad as investment consultancy, it was quite hard to come up with quantitative measures to assess their performance. So this is basically their annual scorecard, in line with those objectives that we set them, and then you can see then on page 72 our analysis of how they've progressed against those objectives. And again, I think the chairman has noted and publicly stated both here and at council, the great work that our investment consultants have done for us. And most notably, and I would like to give them thanks in this as well, most notably in the heavy lifting and the power that they bring in terms of their corporate capability in things like ESG and their training and their ability to undertake complex issues like carbon measurement. If we were trying to do that ourselves, we would really be struggling. So to be able to call on the corporate might of a respected firm like Hymans Robertson in respect of those issues has been particularly helpful at this quite regulatory heavy environment that we're working in at the moment. So it's a very good and clean scorecard for them, and I'd like to say that it's been a very productive relationship that we've had with Hymans Robertson to date.
Yeah, no, listen, I would echo that. I think we've come a long way, haven't we, in terms of our structure and use of independent financial advice, Jeff. And we've, from the time that I've been on the pension committee, where historically we had Noel and Valentine, didn't we? And notwithstanding, the advice that they give, it feels completely different now, and it's good governance. As I say, there's a corporate feel around it all, but some of the advice is in coming from a period of a position of knowledge and experience in this particular sector, but it's only right that they're given, that we manage that, and this is all about good governance for me as well, is that we can demonstrate that we are managing our independent financial advisors as well, albeit notwithstanding some of the points you made about the difficulty in putting firm objectives and tying them to that. So yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction, and something that's needed personally. Anything? Any questions for Jeff on that? No? Okay. So the recommendation then is on page 62, and that is that the committee approves the investment consultants' identified objectives and their progress against the same attached report as Appendix 1, subjective to periodic review by the Deputy Chief Finance Officer. All those in favour, can they raise their hand for the record? Yeah, I think we lost Peter, but that's carried anyway. Thanks for that. Okay, and item 4E then is the pension admin update on page 76.
Thanks, Chairman. Karen, if I could just ask you to invite Andre and David back into the meeting, that would be great. Thank you. Thanks, Chairman. Again, this is the second of the housekeeping reports that I referred to earlier on, and but first of all, could I apologise and ask that that on recommendation on page 76. That recommendation could just read, it is recommended the Pension Fund Committee approves the pensions administration strategy. I would like to pull the admin authority discretions policy, because the policy that is complete at the back, I'm afraid the attachment that was forward does not include the outlined discretions. As the eagle-eyed amongst you will see that the recommendation is blank on the amended and updated discretion. So in essence, you wouldn't be approving the updated discretions. This is the existing discretions document. So I'm afraid I have to apologise and pull that appendix, and I'll have to bring it before committee at your next meeting for you to approve. However, the rest of the report stands for your approval, Chairman and committee, and it's in relation to the pensions admin strategy. And that starts on page 108, and I referred to it earlier on, in that this forms the contractual relationship, I suppose, between us and all our employers. And yeah, I know we had the important meeting with our employers yesterday, the annual consultative meeting, where we invite all the employers to hear about the progress and the update of the scheme. However, on a day-to-day basis, Claire and her team, speak to employers, deal with their HR departments, deal with their payroll departments, answering queries, asking for information, etc. That's the lifeblood of the pension scheme in essence. And what this document outlines is and manages expectations and requirements and obligations about being a member of the scheme, about being an employer in the scheme, and what we will do in return as the admin authority of the scheme. To Councillor Thomas's questions earlier on about payment within 19 days, that's included in here. The obligations of an employer to remit their pension contributions on time. So we've just updated it for custom and practice, for best practice as it's evolved over time, and periodically we look to review this, send it out to the employers, and as you can see right at the end of the document, there is a notional, or you sign up to this, we sign up to this. I mean, it's not it's not a contract in law as such. I don't think it is legally binding in that way. However, it's a commitment by the employer to adhere to these policies and timescales and requirements as best as they are able to, so that we can deliver the scheme and minimise those breaches that we have to report to you on a regular basis, and it all just makes for a more efficient and a better working scheme. And on a routine basis, you'll get updates to this document as things change. Happy to take any further questions that the committee may have about the detail included in the pension admin strategy, Chairman.
Okay. Any questions for Jeff? No, listen, Jeff, I think it's appropriate. I know I did mention it in council, but I think this is an opportune time again, given the performance that we reported in last council of the pension fund, a big thank you to Claire and her team on the admin side. This is a real team effort, isn't it? There's different components that make the pension fund efficient, and the admin is an important part of that cog. So I'd like to place on record the thanks of the pension fund committee to Claire and her team for all the work that they've done in creating that excellent performance. So could that be noted? And if there's no questions, so just for clarity then, on the recommendation on page 76, we're deleting bullet point 1, administrating authority discretions policy, and we're approving the pensions administration strategy. Is that everyone clear with that? I'm right, Jeff, am I?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Apologies again.
So all those in favour could identify by raising their hands. That's excellent. That's everyone. And thanks again, Jeff, for that. So that completes that section 4 of the report of the Section 151 officer. We now move on to item 5 then, which is the reports of our independent financial advisor, Hymans, and item A then, which is the net zero carbon investment strategy on page 142. Before I bring in, is it Andre's going to come in first on this, is it?
I think Dave and I will split this.
Dave and I, yeah. Before we start, can I thank committee again? I know a couple of members couldn't make the workshop day, but can I thank members for attending the workshop and for completing the survey and questionnaire in advance of the workshop, because it's really important that when we're making this really important decision today, that we're able to demonstrate that we have gone through that process of enabling us to make the right decision in the right time frame. So thanks to the committee for that today. I briefly touched on this in council. As I said, I gave my update to council in the last full council meeting that we were bringing this report, and I'm really pleased to be bringing this report today. As I say, Hymans will go through it, some of the background, the logic, importantly, what is achievable for the pension fund without impacting significantly or at all, even in its ability to provide an income to its members in retirement, which is one of our really important fundamental principles and the reason why we're here today. So it's about what we can do, particularly relevant over the last 2 weeks, where COP26 and it's in people's focus, it's in people's minds, so the timing is perfect, Jeff. So well done for planning the meeting for the week just after COP26. And hopefully we can demonstrate, if we pass this report, to approve this report today, that the Swansea Pension Fund is able to achieve, is able to put something firm in place for the future, and absolutely ties in with Swansea's council overarching climate emergency decision that was taken some time to achieve net zero by 2050. So without further ado, I'll hand over to David and Andre.
So thanks, Chairman. Sorry, Chairman. Just to introduce that there is a covering report by yours truly, I'm afraid, before they come in. Sorry, Chairman. At 5A.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, as you say, I don't want to repeat what you said, Clive, because you said it far more eloquently than I did. But obviously, this is the next step in what's been quite a lengthy journey undertaken by Pension Fund Committee. First started in 2017. Obviously, you were very groundbreaking in your decisions and commitments to identify a carbon reduction policy in 2017, and obviously that progress to date has been recognised by awards nationally, and again this year the pension fund and the committee's decisions have been recognised in LAPF awards in 3 categories: Pension Fund of the Year, Best Climate Change Strategy, and also investment innovation, and the outcome of those awards will be announced in December 2021. So obviously, you know, the rest of the world has only just caught up with the work of the Pension Fund Committee. Obviously, COP26 heard about what you were doing and thought they better get in on the act and arrange that summit last week. But your journey to net zero was well established before that, and it definitely doesn't feel like you jumping on the bandwagon in that respect, because as anyone can see, this has been only an evolution of your thoughts and beliefs in respect of being a responsible stakeholder and a responsible investor as far as an LGFS pension fund is concerned, and doing the next logical step in respect of that. And again, as we noted in the previous report, you know, we want to thank our consultants, Hymas Robertson, for facilitating you know, that training and facilitating that journey along that roadmap to net zero, and the workshops that they facilitated, the education sessions, the meetings that they've helped set up with appropriate third parties, so that committee can consider and robustly debate, because it's clear that you know, as is appropriate in every committee, there are differing views, and there has been strong and very hearty debate on the subject throughout. However, at that workshop, clear consensus was reached on a number of issues, and hopefully at the conclusion of today's committee meeting, committee will have a clear direction going forward in this important matter. And I'll quite happily hand over to Andre and David to take us through the detail of the summary of that investment workshop, and how they've evaluated the outcomes of that day to putting it into a meaningful plan and roadmap for the short, medium and long term. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jeff. So you have 2 papers in the pack from us today. The first one, titled Net Zero Ambition, is essentially our playing back the discussions from the workshop, putting that into a set of targets to be hopefully discussed and adopted following the conversation today, and also making it a bit clearer what we envisage the next steps being. So this is built around essentially 3 areas. So there is the reporting framework, which builds on all the great work that's already been done to reduce the carbon footprint, and brings in the extra forward-looking dimensions, so that we can start to look at what positive impact is the fund supporting, as well as that more backward-looking reduction in carbon emissions. So a range of targets there, which we've debated at the workshop and looked to calibrate really to tie in with the headline objective of getting to net zero by 2037. So these are a variety of different metrics to cover different aspects of that journey and the important factors, but really all designed around that central objective to help you get there. In addition to that reporting framework, we've also set out high-level summary on next steps in terms of the evolution of the portfolio. And this is looking again at that more forward-looking impact approach. We've spoken a bit already around the timberland and the agricultural mandates which are being looked at just now. But next on the list is on the equity and potentially the credit side, where we're looking at, again, more forward-looking, impactful strategies to support that transition to net zero. And then finally, we have our proposed framework for enhanced engagement. So this is looking at, if you like, the other half of the portfolio, the more traditional assets, and really building on what's already being done there to encourage those investee companies to do what they can to put sensible policies and practices in place to improve their own business models kind of within that more traditional sphere. So really taking a three-dimensional approach to taking you forward. Overall, I would say this very much puts you in the forefront of what pension schemes are doing here. In fact, just what people are doing generally. Your targets are more ambitious than most. Anything starting with a 3 in terms of the date, I think is kind of really good, really ambitious, but also achievable given what we're seeing in the markets at the moment. I think you've already been at the forefront, as Jeff said already, innovative in your approach, taking great strides on reducing carbon emissions, but the market is moving on. And I think the outcome from the workshop and what you're effectively agreeing to here will keep you in that forefront. Some of this is still developing as we go, so we don't yet have data available from all of your investments. Some of the areas, for example, around the credit impact type approaches are kind of relatively new. So again, you're at the kind of the innovative end. We are obviously going to be careful not to do anything which is overtly risky or not sufficiently tried and tested, but you're definitely in the vanguard of that movement. And as has already been mentioned, the primary focus will be to maintain and support your financial aspirations while also meeting the responsible investment objectives. But there will inevitably come a point where there's a bit of a trade-off required, and we spoke at the workshop around what that might look like, and we'll obviously inform you before there's any steps taken in that direction. But for now, we're able to do good things on the carbon side without impacting materially on the financials. I'm very happy to take you through more of the detail in the paper. If you have had a chance to read through that in advance of the meeting, I hope that you recognise the targets and the areas that we discussed at the workshop and that we've captured your views accurately. But if there are any people who feel that we haven't accurately captured it, obviously there's still time to tweak this before it gets totally finalised.
Yeah, thanks, David. Listen, I think there's a couple of things that, again, I just wanted to clarify for the record. Really, is that the workshop was really important, wasn't it, in terms of that discussion? I think it generally captures everything. But again, I know a couple of pension fund committee members weren't able to attend, but we did have quite a lengthy discussion about our appetite for the balance between fiducial return and achievement of net zero, didn't we? And I think we overall we wanted to minimise that obviously as much as possible. And Jeff articulated what 1%, I think it was, Jeff, reduction would amount to in terms of well, it's the whole of our contributions. It would, I think you said, it would equate to. So there was a very balanced discussion about that, and I think it was, I'm right in saying that there wasn't that huge appetite to impact, fiduciary and in a fiduciary way on the pension fund. But as you say, we will be well warned about any sort of impacts by yourselves should that that prospect arise. And the other thing as well, this is, for me, this is very much the start of the journey, Jeff. We'll be able to, it's really important that we review this and come back to it and see, are we going in the right direction? Do we need to tweak it? So this is very much a starting point for me, a huge starting point. Having said that, but we will reserve the right as pension fund committee members, to bring this back regularly, review it, see where we go in, and tweak it as and when we need to, based on on our feelings and where we think we're going, but also on the excellent independent advice that our advisors will give us as well. So very much the start of the journey, and one for us to review and come back to over the next 15 years. Well, I won't be here, but the successors. Anybody like to come in on the report? For those that were there, is it a true reflection of what was discussed at the workshop, and does it give us a way forward really to take this really groundbreaking decision as David and Jeff have articulated? No? Okay, well, I think it seems to be, we've done a good job in capturing what was discussed both, so well done. If there aren't any questions then, or any more comments, we have the recommendation on, bear with me, is that my excitement, I've moved.
Well, I just briefly mention, Mr. Chairman, that there's the second paper sets out the beliefs side of things. Now, I guess they're a bit of a package. So, the first paper is the kind of the hard targets, if you like. The second paper is an articulation of the beliefs, where we've looked to capture, including your point on the balance between getting the responsible investment correct with managing the financials. But I'm very happy for you to take those a pack in terms of seeking approval. Yeah, I was taking, sorry David, yeah, I was taking the two papers, and I'm guessing nobody's come back on that. So the recommendation then is on page 142, and that is, it is recommended the Pension Fund Committee approves a commitment to achieve a net zero carbon position in its investment portfolio by 2037, B, the adoption of the fund's responsible investment beliefs as outlined in Appendix 1 will underpin the fund's actions on climate risk, and C, the climate actions of the fund are developed across three key areas, three dimensions, to give greater balance between carbon and other ESG metrics, both forward and backward looking, opportunities that will benefit from the transition to a lower carbon economy, and 3, engagement activities focused on climate and encouraging best practice amongst fund managers, investee companies and other investors. So if I'll move the recommendation, if everyone can intimate by raising their hands that they're happy to accept that.
Sorry, Chair, I can't see Councillor Downing to see how he's voting. Perhaps he could put his virtual hand up.
Can you put your camera or a virtual hand up? I know he was having a bit of trouble when he was getting in, so maybe he's dropped out.
It's not a problem. There's 4 votes for, but I just would like to get, if I could see how Councillor Downing was voting. Perhaps he's dropped out.
He's not responding, is he?
Okay, there's 4 votes for it anyway, so that's fine.
Okay, so you've got those. Everyone raise their hands. Yeah. Okay, well done. Huge decision, and as again, a big thank you to everyone involved in making this, as I say, groundbreaking decision today for the Swansea LGPS. Well done. Okay, we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is, I think it's exclusion of the public. So item 6. Somebody like to move to exclude the public? Will? seconded. Mike, Gareth. Yeah, all those in favour, raise their hand. Okay, Al, do you want to switch off the recording?
Stop the recording.